Welcome to another video. In this video, we're going to talk about manual testing versus automation testing. So when you're exploring this career, the career of QA, you're going to notice two different types. There is manual testing and there is automation testing. And the progress is you start with manual and you go to automation. Most of the time, like that was not the case for me. Well, kinda, I did manual testing for like 2 months and I got into automation just because the opportunity was there. So I'm going to explain what the difference is in this video, and I'm going to show you actual examples. That is actually my plan, right? So we looked at test cases, right? We talked about what testing means. Does it do this? Does it do that, right? So manual testing is when you go through those test cases, the ones we just looked at how to test, when a human is doing them. When a human manually do them, just like I did in that video where I went there, I loaded the page, I clicked on things, I visually just make sure everything is there, make sure everything is working. That is manual testing. Then automation testing is the use of specialized software tools or scripts to execute test cases and compare actual outcomes. It's basically you write code, whatever the language is. It can be Python, Java, JavaScript, PHP. You can just write code that will simulate everything a human would do. A human would go onto your application and a human would interact with the application, and you write code to do that, whether it's for the front end and the back end. All the examples I showed you earlier, that is front end stuff. So let's actually go look at some automation. I'm going to show you automation running in action. And one test case that's very easy to understand is making sure registration works for your website. So I work for this e-commerce website. The URL is different than the one I showed you, but it's pretty much the same site. I have multiple different sites for different things, but it's the exact same thing: WooCommerce, WordPress. So let's say I work for this e-commerce site. One of the test cases is make sure a new person can come and create an account on my site, right? That's very important for my business. So what is the test case? The test case is first you go to the page, then you click on my account, and let me sign out. This it's a signed in user right now. So you have to start with signed out user, right? So you go to my account page and you have a form for registration and you want to make sure it works. So you're going to go here and you're going to put in some email address, something at supersqa.com. You're going to put some strong password, right? And then you're going to click on register. Once you register, you see that the user is registered because you see the page changed and you see the logout button. There's ways for you to know if the registration worked or not. So that's one test case. So when it comes to automation, then you have Python code. So this is VS Code. It's just a tool, or it's an IDE, but think of it like Microsoft Word, but for code, right? In those code, it gives you all these colors and everything. So you write Python scripts. This is the big framework for my bootcamp, the live bootcamp. It has like 200 plus test cases, automated test cases. And I'm just going to run a couple of them here for you. So it's just a Python file, some file name .py. It's based on PyTest. And then in this Python file, we have Python code. So when you learn how to code, you learn how to write this stuff. First, you're going to learn Python itself, the language, how do you do things in Python. Then you're going to learn what do you do to work with browsers. And that is Selenium. So we have two automation options for the browser, the two popular options. One is Selenium, the other one is Playwright. Playwright is just like blowing up, it's becoming really popular, but Selenium is still the OG, is still the top dog. Like definitely, Selenium is up there, but Playwright is just catching up. And I feel like in a few years, it would probably definitely catch up. So I'm using Selenium for this case because since most of the jobs are requiring Selenium, I teach my students Selenium to start with, then Playwright. So basically, this framework is using Selenium. Selenium is the one that's going to open the browser and do the stuff that humans would have done. So I have this test that says verify a valid registration. I have all the Python code here. And when I want to run it, I just run this command. The test has an ID. A test case has an ID. This is ID 13. I'm saying run ID 13. I hit enter. It's going to open Chrome and it's going to type in and finish quick, right? It took 2.8 seconds. Let me run it real quick one more time. 2.8 seconds, you can just see how fast it finished. Another test case to look at is like an end-to-end checkout. Let's say I start from the homepage. I want to test out that can customers actually buy stuff from my website. That's probably the most important test case out there, right? So manually, when I'm testing it, I'll come here, I'll click on add to cart, then I'll go up here and click on go to cart. There's a lot of different ways to get to the cart page. So each one of those needs to be tested. So you're going to need different test cases. Can I click on the cart here? Can I click on the cart here? Like there are several ways. In this case, I chose to click here. Then I'll come here, I'm going to apply coupon. So this is a real e-commerce site, but we're not going to process real credit cards. So the best way to test it that I figured out is we're just going to use a coupon that's going to make the whole cart free. That way we can just check out. So I'm going to come to click on coupon. I'm going to add SSQA100. This is the coupon code. As soon as I apply that, that's going to make the whole cart $0. I'm going to click on proceed to checkout. I'm going to fill in this form just to save time. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to fill this form, place order, and then verify that that actually works. So that is an end-to-end checkout flow, doing it manually. Now, what does the automation looks like? The automation will be another file here, and that does all the stuff I just did. Go here, click there, type into here, do this, make sure this happens. All of that is being done in this code. Python and Selenium are doing it. Technically, Selenium is doing it. Now, if I want to run that, this ID is 33. So I'm going to clear the screen. I'm going to hit the up arrow a couple of times because I ran it before. And there is test case ID. It's a Python command, PyTest. This is something you're going to learn when you learn how to code. Then I'm going to run this. You're going to see Chrome opening up and all of that happening. Add item to the cart, go to the cart, type into coupon, fill in all the form for the checkout. There's a little delay here. Selects free shipping and it's going to click on checkout. And it's going to verify the actual success page loaded up, right? It did that, finished, and it told me, hey, one test passed, 200 deselected. Basically saying, hey, there are 209 tests in this framework. I executed one of them and it passed. I ignored 200 or 208 of them, and it took 17 seconds to run this. Now imagine running all 200 tests, running 1,000 tests. 200 is like nothing, it's a mini. Like in a real company, you're going to have thousands of tests. It's going to take a lot of time. Imagine doing that manually. It's going to be crazy. It's going to take you like weeks to finish that. But with automation, you could run it over and over again. Within one day, you could run multiple times. And the point of tests it's not like you test it once, everything passed, and you're good to go. No, you're going to have to test it all the time because the way software works, you make changes here that you think is not related. The changes you made here, they could affect something that already exists, something that was already working fine. Some new stuff you do will break some old stuff. So that's called regression. So when you create something new, you still got to test the old stuff even though you already tested it. So you got to run the test over and over and over again. And doing it manually is going to take so much time. It's not reasonable for you to run thousands of tests, execute thousands of tests manually. So automation really saves you time, okay? So that has been an example of automation. Let's go back to the slides and talk a little bit more. So there's always pros and cons to everything. So the pros for manual testing is intuitive, right? When a human is doing it, you have intuition. You can just, come up with ideas on the fly. You can just see something is wrong. You can feel if something is wrong. So it's very intuitive. It's very flexible. You can quickly adjust to things, changes. Like the software changes, the way you test can change automatically, like real quick, because you're a human. You can just make judgment. Exploratory, meaning you can just explore things. You can just click this, click that, even though it's not part of the requirements, not part of the test cases. You can still explore and make sure that product or the application works the way you want it to work. So those are very big advantages of manual testing. The problems, the cons, are it's very time consuming. Like I said, you have thousands of tests usually, and it just don't make sense to manually run those all the time. It's prone for human error, definitely. If the human is doing the testing, you can't do the exact same thing all the time. A human depends on your mood, depends on what kind of night you had, right? If you had a rough night, your focus is not going to be there, you're not going to test it. So the way you test yesterday, the way you test today is going to be different. So it's not very reliable. It's not scalable. That comes to that 1,000 tests I said. Yeah, if you have like 20 tests, sure, it's reasonable. You could run them once a week, maybe even once a day. But if you have 100, you have 2,000, it's not scalable. You can't just keep growing as much as you want. With automation, the opposite. You can just write as many tests as you want. You can automate as many tests as you want, and it's very much scalable. So speed and efficiency, as you saw, that whole end-to-end test took 17 seconds. So it's very fast and it's very efficient. Repeatability. Once you write the code properly, it's going to run exact same thing all the time. So the first time you code it, the first time you write the test, you have to write it in a good way, right? You have to write it correctly. So it's going to just keep repeating it. So like humans, there's no like, oh, I'm not feeling good today, so my focus is not there. No, you write it correctly first time. It's very repeatable. Scalability, I just explained that. Integration, since everything is code, and the tests are code. It would work together with CI/CD pipelines. It's just the whole process. Your automation just fit right in, and that's kind of a big part of our job, is making sure we fit into the overall process of building the software. So the cons, the not so good parts, is high upfront cost, because it takes time to write the code. You need engineers, right? You need skilled people. So there's cost upfront, but the payoff is like really good, and you get the payoff right away. Maintenance overhead, I put it in the con section, but when it comes to us, that's actually good because job security. The automation always have to be maintained, so it gives us jobs, right? Like, it's not, somebody is not just going to hire you, you're going to write the automation and they can just fire you because you already wrote it. No, you have to maintain it all the time, so it's job security. But in terms of the company, it's an overhead, like you have to maintain it all the time. Then limited exploratory capabilities. You cannot just explore with automation, because once you code it, it's going to do whatever you code it to do. It's not going to automatically be like, oh, let me just try this. It's not going to do that. It's only going to do what you tell it to do. Now with AI, I can imagine in the future, you're going to have automation that can explore things. You code it to do something, but there's AI in there. So it might be like, oh, you coded me to do this, but this actually makes sense. So I can totally see that coming in the future. When to use which, when you want to explore things, when you want to check for usability and user experience, UX, and just ad hoc stuff. Ad hoc just means like random stuff, one-off testing. You want to use manual. If you have a product, like a page, for example, that's supposed to last a week, it's not going to be there forever. It wouldn't make sense to automate it, because it's going to take time to automate, but that product is only going to be there for a week. After that, you don't need it. In that case, it does make sense to automate. But if you have a lot of tests, that's going to live forever, that's going to live for a long time, you're going to have to do regression testing. If you want to do performance testing usually is done with automation. Performance testing is basically when when your website visits gets traffic, right? You're going to get a lot of traffic. You're going to simulate a lot of fake traffic and see if the servers can handle it. See if the website performs well when there's a lot of people in it, and you're going to simulate that with code. And when you have to repeat a bunch of things. So that's when you do automation. Automation is usually important, very important, but automation manual would always be there. It's not like automation is totally replacing manual. It's replacing a lot of manual, but manual will always be there. It's not going to go nowhere. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a vision of what automation is, especially the demo shows you what the difference is when manually doing it and when you're doing it with automation. So if you have more questions, I'm an automation guy. All I do is automation. I teach automation. I have automation courses. I have a membership that you can just learn automation. I'm Python based mainly. So check me out. That's what I do. I love automation. It's fun. That's a thing too. To me personally, manual testing is a little boring, depending on the project, but most of the time it's boring. But automation, it just excites me, right? That's the personality thing. So if you want to learn more about automation, make sure you join the community and just talk to me. Make sure you watch my YouTube videos. All I do is really automation. I focus on automation. All right, let's move on. Watch some next video.